Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. We've had a good amount of time to sort of experience what Call of Duty Vanguard Multiplayer is, right? Game's been out for a couple of weeks now at this point. I've personally had a lot of playtime in the game already, grinding weapon levels, grinding overall rank, and everything like that. And today I wanted to sit down and break down my general, just honest thoughts on Vanguard so far, personally what I think is wrong with the game, but also how this game is incredibly surprising at the same time. So as we go through it all today, if you enjoy the video at any point, let me know by dropping a like on it. Would be seriously appreciated. Really does help grow the channel. And of course, if you're new here or if you have not already subscribed, we are on the road to 800,000 subs. And each and every day, I am always covering the latest news, updates, class setups, tips, and really everything else going on in COD. So feel free to subscribe with your notifications turned on. That way you can always guarantee you are up to date with all of that. Now, when it comes to Vanguard, let's be honest, it's not a 100% perfect game. I don't think any Call of Duty has ever been a 100% perfect game. And while there is a few things that I think they did do wrong or things that are currently not where they should be, overall, I gotta say, this game is very surprising. I think going into it, a lot of players had very low expectations. Oh, another World War II Call of Duty, whoop-de-doo, right? But now, the reception that I see on this game, and even my own experience, is way better than I thought it was going to be. I jumped on. I'm not too concerned with the overall time period. I care more about the gameplay, if the guns are fun, if the maps are good. And for what it's worth, I think that they are. I think the guns are very fun to use, despite some things that we'll get into here in a moment. I think the maps are very fun, even though I spend a lot of my time on Das House right now. Overall, I am very surprised at how fun this game is, because I did not expect to have this much fun on the game going into it. So that's something I wanted to bring up here right away that I am really surprised with and honestly very happy with. But when it comes to what I think could be worked on a little bit more, first up, the TTK is a little bit fast. Obviously, MW 2019 had a very fast TTK as well. I really enjoyed MW 2019, but the TTK was something that was like, a slightly slower TTK could have made this a top tier game, right? And I think that's sort of the same case here. You just don't have a ton of time to react in fights, but also it's very early on into the overall competitive stage of the meta. There's going to be a lot of tuning that happens over the course of time, so I think this is something we'll see slightly adjusted. Usually in multiplayer games, they don't change the TTK a ton like they have in Warzone, but I think that we'll be in a better state from where we are now in, 2 weeks time, and especially in like 2 months time, 4 months time, so on and so forth. So the TTK currently, I'm not an absolute huge fan of, but it's also something I can live with. Now, speaking a little bit about weapon balancing, yeah, early on right now, it's not fantastic. Obviously, the shotguns over the past couple of weeks since launch have been just brutal to play against. Now, I won't lie, I use them, yes, because I'm absolutely going to level an OP weapon when it's OP and not have to deal with it when it sucks, but the weapon balancing in general could use a lot of work. The shotguns, pretty much all of them are very annoying to run into. Things like the STG and the MP40 were pretty dominant. I think there's going to be some other issues as we see those weapons nerfed and used a little bit less. We also have things like Vital, though, that are pretty dominant and sort of a crutch thing when it comes down to it, because it makes any given weapon so much more powerful. So things like that obviously are going to be worked on, but right now they are something that I'm a little bit concerned about, but hopefully we do see some positive changes come out of that. One gameplay mechanic that I just do not understand: teammate body blocking, and also sometimes dog body blocking. Like, I don't know how many times I've spawned in and I am running in place because little Jimmy in front of me is too busy eating his Cheez-Its and not playing the game, and I can't walk past him because his whole model is body blocking me and I can't move around, or I'm getting pushed out of the way by teammates running through. Sometimes I'll spawn in, there will be dogs blocking the way, or I'll be bouncing off of them. So the body blocking mechanics in this game are a little bit OD. I don't think you need teammate collision. Enemy collision, I understand. It's still frustrating to run into sometimes, but that's a lot more reasonable than constantly bouncing off of your teammates. So that's something I'm not really a huge fan of right now. I'd hope to see that one changed as time goes on. Another thing that I really do not like is the mortar barrage screen effect. If you're using this thing right now, unironically, I'm not a huge fan of you, because you throw these things down on the map, and then if you're anywhere near where these blast radius explosions are, you can't see anything. You get the whole like smoke effect on your screen, the explosion effect on your screen, and it is just repetitive, and it keeps on going, and it lasts for like 45 seconds. I'm not a fan of that streak, and I'm not really a fan of the effects that it brings to the map when it is called in. So that's another thing that I'm not really enjoying as of right now. It's a small thing, and I'm gonna bring that up as a point a little bit later on into the video. But yeah, the mortar barrage, not on board with that one. Now, an actual thing that they really focused on this year that is game changing, to say the least, is the bloom effect on weapons. If you're unfamiliar, accuracy in this game, the whole stat that you see with certain attachments, is very important because it relates to bloom, which is how straight your bullets are actually shooting compared to where you're aiming. So in all other CODs, where your red dot was, that is exactly where your bullets go. Now, obviously, you have a recoil pattern and there's some visual kick here and there, so it's not 1-to-1 100% of the time, but if you're shooting straight, you'd shoot straight. In this game, though, that's not guaranteed. If you don't have 100% accuracy stats on your weapon, it's not 100% of the time going to shoot straight, and that's just an unnecessary mechanic in my opinion. It doesn't really help anyone. It only hurts players with good aim because they're not being rewarded for having good aim. The RNG of the bloom mechanic can ruin gunfights, and it's very just imbalanced in my opinion, and like I said, it doesn't really cater to any players. If you're trying to lower the skill gap with that, it's still going to hurt the lower tier players as well, because if they don't have great aim and then you factor in bloom, it's also going to hurt them too, just as much as it hurt a good player with good aim because their bullets are not going where they're supposed to go. So bloom in general, I just don't feel like is a necessary thing. Of course, ever since launch, there's been a lot of issues going on with bugs and tracking and challenges not properly adding up. Things with weapon camos not even being able to be unlocked because a certain proficiency doesn't exist, or headshots not tracking, or elims not tracking, whatever the case may be with those. Those are usual like launch time bugs. I know a lot of people are not very happy with that right now, and yes, it is a con of the game early on, but that's sort of something that is to be expected. I will say the time frame in which these have been fixed is a little bit slower than I thought because it's just weapon tracking. I'm also incredibly ignorant to game development though, so I can't really be too harsh on that, but that is something that is somewhat annoying. You can't really get certain guns done with gold camos and whatnot just because it's physically impossible to unlock the camos and complete the challenges. Then finally, my main concern I want to bring up is just the packet burst thing. However, this is something that they've already talked about they're working on fixing, and that sort of segues into the remainder of this video. They're doing an incredibly good job, I think, with feedback and listening to the community and working to avidly fix these things as fast as possible. Like I said, the turnaround times so far haven't been incredible on some things, but also we're seeing updates every other day at the least, right? So Sledgehammer is doing, I think, a fantastic job at really listening to what's going on in the game, what they think needs to be adjusted, what is definitely broken that needs to be updated. So they're doing a really, really good job with that. And then also, like I said at the beginning of this video, Vanguard is incredibly surprising to me and almost somewhat nostalgic because this game reminds me the most of Modern Warfare 2 since Modern Warfare 2. And I say that because at this current point in time, you can use just about anything and it's going to be good. Yes, things are overwhelmingly good like the shotties and the STG and the MP40 and whatever else, but if you want to go off meta and use an automaton or a bar or a Thompson or whatever else, it seems like everything is good in this game. Once you get it to about level 55 or level 60 up there in the weapon levels, everything kills very fast because of that lower TTK, and it gives you a very open and diverse meta despite there being some more dominant weapons to choose from. So just like with MW2, how everything in that game was busted and broken, and that's what made it so much fun, I'm having that same experience here on Vanguard, which is something that I haven't experienced in a Call of Duty for a long time. So that's something I'm a huge fan of right now. Is it the most ideal for every player? Probably not, but for me personally, I'm loving that. Another thing is combat pacing. Because I can play Blitz only, I'm also a huge fan of that. I'm not really big on 6v6 multiplayer these days just because I like ground war. I like Blitz where it is constant chaos. You're dying a ton, but you're also getting a ton of kills. And there's never really dull points in the match. I just like that chaos. I thrive in that chaos, right? So the fact that combat pacing exists and Blitz is a thing is incredible. Even on the bad maps that I'm not really a huge fan of, like let's say Desert Siege, for instance, or Berlin, it's still chaos because of how many players they squish into that map and force to play. So I think this game is incredibly good for what it is. I think it's exceeded my expectations, and despite not being a perfect game, there obviously are quite a few flaws as mentioned. This game is, it's good. I do think Vanguard is a solid Call of Duty, and honestly, I think it's only going to get better over time. If I'm having this much fun at launch when things are busted and broken and glitched and nothing's working as intended when it comes to challenges and whatnot, and they're going to spend time refining this stuff, the game is only going to improve. The quality of life for the game is only going to improve. So I'm very optimistic for this year of Call of Duty despite going into it with not the highest expectations in the world. And I think this is going to set off a very solid cycle of COD games, honestly, because if this game stays this fun to me all year long, we've got MW2 or the Modern Warfare 2019 sequel next year, which is probably the most excited I've ever been for a Call of Duty game. Then after that, we've got the rumored like Black Ops 2-esque sort of Treyarch title set in near future. we're in for a good cycle here, folks. So I'm very excited. Let me know what your thoughts on Vanguard so far, though, down in the comments below. Are you surprised with it? Are you a little bit disappointed with it? Curious to see what you guys have to say, but that's going to wrap things up for this one. If you enjoyed the video, let me know by dropping a like on it. And of course, if you're new here or if you have not already subscribed, feel free to do so. That way you can always guarantee you are up to date with everything going on in the world of Call of Duty. As always, if you want to check out any of my partners, be sure to use code IMMORTAL for a discount on all Scuff, G Fuel, Gamer Advantage, and Control Freak products. The links for all those can be found down in the description below. But once again, thanks so much for tuning in, and until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.